Flute Quartet in A by Mozart. Irena Grafenauer was the flutist. On the violin, Guido Kramer. The viola was Veronica Hagen, and Clemens Hagen was the cellist. Support for Afternoon Classics on WSHU comes from Sacred Heart University, home of the John F. Welch College of Business, offering programs in Fairfield and Stamford, Connecticut, accredited by the AACSB International and named to the Princeton Review's Best Business Schools, online at sacredheart.edu. Support also comes from Stanford Symphony, 1 hour pre-concert Behind the Baton, chat with Eckhart Proy and the soloist. This Saturday and Sunday, experience the best of New York City right here at home. StanfordSymphony.org. More headlines from National Public Radio News so we can be up to speed with events. And then we're back with music by Stravinsky. Don't go anywhere. This is listener-supported WSHU Public Radio 91.1 FM Fairfield, your station for NPR News and classical music. From NPR News in Washington, I'm Lakshmi Singh. Today marks 5 years since the Deepwater Horizon explosion in the Gulf of Mexico. 11 workers were killed, and BP's out-of-control well unleashed the nation's worst offshore oil disaster. NPR's Debbie Elliott reports the spill is still a source of worry.
Oil spewed for nearly 3 months, polluting the water and shoreline all along the northern Gulf Coast. Today, heavy oiling is limited to Louisiana wetlands. Most other beaches are cleaned up and back in business. In Gulf Shores, Alabama, Mayor Robert Kraft says the economy is bouncing back, but he's still concerned about the ecosystem.
It appears to be fine, but what we don't know is the long-term environmental consequences of this. It just hadn't been long enough to know.
BP faces a fine that could top $13 billion after a federal judge found the company's gross negligence is to blame for the disaster. Debbie Elliott, NPR News, Orange Beach, Alabama.
The so-called accountant of Auschwitz stands trial tomorrow in Germany. 93-year-old Oscar Grunning acknowledges he was an SS non-commissioned officer at the concentration camp in Nazi-occupied Poland in 1944. But he denies he committed any crimes. Grunning is charged with being an accessory to the murders of at least 300,000 Jews. Many Holocaust survivors and relatives are expected to attend the trial in the northern city of Lüneburg. 6 Minnesota men are charged with attempting to travel to Syria to train with the self-proclaimed Islamic State. Authorities say a small number of Minnesota residents are already training with ISIS after traveling to Syria in the past year. Under heavy but not intrusive security, spectators along the 26.2-mile route of the Boston Marathon are braving chilly and wet weather to root on tens of thousands of runners. The elites have crossed the finish line. The men's champion is Ethiopia's Lalisa Desisa, and the winner for the women's division is Kenya's Caroline Rodich. WBUR's Alex Ashlock says people are enthusiastic, though that's a bit tempered by the weather.
I think the mood in Boston today, the weather is not great, so it's not quite the celebration that you might normally see. And again, with the bombings only 2 years ago, the bombings are still very much part of this marathon, and very much part of what